You're listening to EFT Radio Online, where we explore meridian tapping techniques for self-help and peak performance. By listening to this audio, you agree to the disclaimer located at EFTradioonline.com/disclaimer. If you'd like to get the schedule of all the upcoming EFT radio shows and access to archive shows, please visit us at EFTradioonline.com, where you can subscribe to our free newsletter.
Hi everyone, welcome to Tap Into Your Healthy Self. My name is Annabel Fisher, and as always, I am delighted to be with you here today. And here in beautiful British Columbia, it is the most spectacular day. I imagine any of you living here are out and about and probably going to listen to this in the archive version. And I'm delighted for you. It's been a wonderful long weekend for us here. I hope wherever you are in the world, you are enjoying yourselves and you have good weather and you are safe and well. So I specialize in working with highly sensitive people who want to move out of simply functioning in life and transition into feeling safe enough to be authentic in life, living to their fullest and healthiest potential. You can visit my website at www.theefthealingcenter.com for details. So on to today's show. I just cannot believe how blessed I am doing this show. I often tell you that one of the things I love the most is that I get to choose who I invite on my show. How does it get any better than that? And I love to support friends who work so hard in the world, putting their gifts out there and shining their light. And so I'm very honored today to be interviewing somebody I respect very, very much in our work, but also who I'm so happy to say is a dear friend of mine. So today, on this holiday Monday, I am doing my happy dance today to be with you and interviewing this particular person. In today's society, very few people escape the effects of trauma or some sort or another, and it can show up in so many ways. Trauma is actually any experience in our lives that created a high emotional impact on us, and this can show up in a myriad of ways. Also, a high emotional impact experience or trauma is stored in the body, in the memory of the body. In fact, you hold your entire life story in your body. And this is where my guest today starts her work, by gently exploring and working with the innate knowledge and wisdom of the body. By tapping into her clients' inherent resiliency, they find the keys to not only symptoms and suffering, but also the resolutions to what might have, up until now, felt inexplicable or beyond hope. Usually things look calm and normal on the outside, but inside there can be a huge amount of energy that's consolidated and revving with nowhere to go. By using gentle, non-invasive therapies, my guest today is able to resolve and discharge unresolved survival energies, heal the symptoms of trauma, and bring the body back into balance. And my guest today is Teresa Lea. She has helped thousands of people get their lives back by showing them how to heal, reclaim their personal power, and live authentically. She is trained in multiple disciplines of energy medicine, somatic therapies, and consciousness-based healing and wellness. Teresa is also a powerful speaker, author, and healing expert who travels the world sharing her gifts with groups, individuals, entrepreneurs, and via distance healing. Fantastic. You can visit Teresa's website at www.intouchinlife. And that's, of course, all one word. So in touch, INTOUCH, in life, INLIFE. And then that's .com, of course. And if you would like to contribute to our discussion today, you're most welcome to join us in the chat room. I opened that up at the beginning, and thank you. I see there's a number of people already in there today. You can also call into the show, and the number for that is 347-215-6833. And just press 1. I'll see your hand raised. And you're most welcome to ask Teresa any questions or make any comments. So, welcome to the show, Teresa.
Thank you, Annabel. I'm delighted and honored to be able to be here to support you and to share this amazing information. And I'm also to call you my friend.
Oh, thank you. Well, likewise.
And I would like to say one thing, because we're in the process of transferring the website right now. I'm not sure how it's going to show up. So in that In Touch in Life, you may want to add a / and then a new site, NEWSITE, and another / to make sure you get into the new one that's completely being rebuilt now.
Thank you. I appreciate you adding that. So In Touch in Life / new site.
Yes.
And we'll repeat that at the end, Teresa. Thank you. So there's a lot to talk about today, and I was particularly wanting you to come on the show because of the extraordinary work that you do and the range of your skills, and, of course, the focus that you have on trauma. So it's interesting for me when I start working with a new client, or perhaps I just talk to them over the phone and we have a short consultation, we'll often dig a little way into what could have triggered an illness. And sometimes people will say, well, nothing big really happened. It wasn't as though I had a massive trauma. And then as we further our discussion, what tends to be revealed is that they've had a series of events that have happened. Most likely they've just brushed them off and thought, well, that's life and I've just got to deal with it. And in my case, Teresa, before I was so very ill with chronic fatigue syndrome, when I look back now, that's exactly what I went through. There were a bunch of things that were happening for me over a period of time. It wasn't a week, but it was several years, that I just felt as though, well, that's life, and I just need to get on with it. And so I would love to explore that with you right now. So perhaps we could start with, what's your take on that? Is that what you observe as well with the people that you work with?
Yes, Annabel, that is something that I commonly observe, because in life we have so many experiences that we do just chalk up as to that's life. And part of what happens is when we say that's life, we oftentimes are coming from a place of, well, I can't do anything about that anyway, and I'm just going to have to deal with it, and because I just have to deal with it, it's easier not to deal with it, so let me just move on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. But because it's an unresolved experience that hasn't been fully integrated and moved through the body says, hey, wait, we're not done with this here. We need to kind of figure out how to be at peace with it. And so the body itself hasn't become at peace with it. And when you have occurrence after occurrence after occurrence, if that happens, it does oftentimes become a series of events, which is why so many clients say, well, I haven't really had anything happen.
Oh, because it just becomes normal. It's familiar.
Exactly. It becomes very normal and familiar, and it can show up in the way we are in relationship, or it can show up in experiences in life, or it can show up because of some of the things that we observe and that we watch on television, because our body takes in the things that we observe and hear as well, and sometimes isn't really liking it too well, even though on some level it's exciting us, because when it becomes normal to us, this is going to sound a bit weird, but sometimes we begin to feel like what happens is the body says, I want to resolve this, and then when another thing happens, it takes it in, and then it almost becomes a way of life, because on an unconscious level, our bodies are wanting to resolve that, and so these things continue to get drawn to us until we finally say, I'm sick of this, I'm going to do something different, and we're forced to look at it, or at least to be able to address it through the body.
Wow, that's a very interesting take. So the body wants the resolution. Explain that a little more, Teresa, when you say so we experience these events again and again.
So it's kind of like, when I say we experience these events again and again, we may end up getting out of one relationship that hasn't really served us well and getting into another relationship that feels really great. And maybe it doesn't look the same. Maybe that person maybe this new person didn't actually, beat us, and I'm going to a bit extreme here, but this does happen. Maybe this new person just was very controlling, but it still creates a high emotional impact. And maybe, so we get tired of that, and we say, okay, so I don't want to deal with that anymore, so let me get out of this relationship when we go into another. And it could be a partner, or it could be a work relationship even. So it's not necessarily just your primary relationship. It could be a work relationship or a friendship. And so then we go into this other relationship that again, kind of keeps us playing small and doesn't really support us in what we really want and who we want, and so the body begins to get shut down even more. So even though there's a little incremental change, it's still creating the same pattern of causing you pain, causing you to shut down, and causing you to be at rest internally.
And also, of course, I'm assuming that even though, say, using that relationship example, the second partner is very different to the first, because the memory of the first experience is stored in the body, then any look or tone of voice or any even body language or verbiage can be a trigger, and the body connects back to the first experience.
Yes. And that is commonly explained. For example, if someone has ever had a speeding ticket, I hate to admit that I have, but when there's been a speeding ticket that's happened, and you're driving down the highway, and all of a sudden you see flashing lights in the background, and you hear a siren, the body's immediate response is to, the heart rate goes up, and we look at the speedometer because the body remembers what it was like to get that ticket and the pain that it was to have to pay for the fine or the lawyer to get out of it, one or the other. And it's so it gets triggered whether or not it's even you that's causing it or not. The body remembers, and it says, hey, we need to pay attention here.
Mm-hmm. So it's the body saying we need to pay attention, which in my personal experience and in the experience of many of my clients is usually ignored at first.
Exactly. And when there's a combination of experiences that happen over and over and over again, it begins to get built up. And part of the work that I am really called to doing with my clients as we're working with trauma resolution and working through the body, whether we're going back to the beginning of where things happened. And things can even begin as early as in birth trauma. Many times the way that we are birthed into the world influences our nervous system's reaction and the way the body stores and integrates things. But the key piece that I really work with my clients is helping them to learn to do what I call listen to the whispers of the body before it becomes screams.
Can you give us some examples of those whispers?
I definitely can and would be delighted to. For example, if you happen to be out and about, and I'm going to give something that's very, very common, and you're going about your work and doing things, and you reach over to grab something, you kind of twist at the same time, and the body feels a twinge. Oftentimes we'll ignore that. But that's actually a whisper in the body saying, hey, maybe we need to move a little differently here, or maybe we need to strengthen this area so that when we move in that way, we feel strong and resilient. But oftentimes when we feel those twinges, we kind of put them aside until by the third or the fourth, the body kind of says, and then it locks up. Then listened to begin with and really address to say, okay, how can I make this movement be with more ease and grace? And that's how in one way that it shows up. The other way that shows up, it could be the exact same scenario, the same type of movement. And that movement may be not just about the strength or the way that you're moving, but from a somatic standpoint, it could be a message from the body to begin to listen to where am I maybe not feeling as supported in my life. Now, the back itself is an indication of feeling supported and strong and flexible in our lives. And so sometimes those twinges and those physical sensations that we feel are messages not just from a physical level, but from an emotional level. And paying attention to those things and asking the questions that can reveal the answers that move you in the direction to greater wholeness and healing can really make a huge difference in the body's ability to experience phenomenal health.
So if I'm understanding you, then the body is constant. I mean, the body is the wise being, and it's constantly letting us know in one form or another that perhaps we're, I'm going to use the term pushing ourselves in a direction that's not serving us. So that could be physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. But in the rush and chase of today's life, and also, again, I was having a conversation with a mutual colleague of ours who's a personal trainer this morning, and we were talking about stereotypes and often men feeling that they must soldier on and oh goodness, I've got a twinge, for example, in my lower back, and I must muster up the strength to just get over it. So in our society and the lifestyle that can often be led, is it the case that people will ignore these whispers?
It's common that they do ignore these whispers, and the reason I bring both context there is because sometimes it truly is a physical thing that needs to be addressed, but often it's instances or emotional aspects or ways that the body is saying we need to create a boundary around an area that helps to create emotional well-being as well as physical well-being, because whether we like it or not, there's no way that we can separate the mind, the body, the spirit, and the soul. And oftentimes we want to address just the physical. Well, that's never just the physical. There's always something else going on that contributes to that physical manifestation.
So what happens then if somebody, perhaps somebody who's listening to this, feels like, well, I can't really trace that. All I know is I injured my back, or I injured my knee through running, for example, and it just won't heal. So where do they go with that awareness?
Well, depending on the type of injury. So I want to be really clear, okay, that there is a time and a place for traditional medicine, Western medicine. Sometimes there are actually breaks or tears that need to be addressed. But most commonly, when there's a pain, and let's say, for example, the knee pain that's going on, something that simply that can happen is to begin to feel into it. Many times just allowing yourself to feel what's going on. And what I mean by that is we have this thing of feelings, which is emotional, but we also have feelings that are physical. And allowing yourself to feel into it and just asking, okay, what happens if I move this way? And how does that feel when I take that step? And then take that not just from the physical feeling, but into, so how am I feeling? What's the message? If this part of my body could talk to me, what would it have to say to me right now? And just completely without an agenda, really just asking that simple question, if this part of my body could talk to me right now, what would it have to say to me? What would it want to share with me that I've not listened to up till now?
So it's really getting out of that analytical left-brained place and connecting with the body and just listening.
Yes, because many times the listening will reveal what else is happening on underneath. Oftentimes, because one of the things that happens, even a simple common knee pain, can simply be the body saying, you know what, you've taken on too much and it's time to slow down for a while. It can be that simple. Mm-hmm. And we oftentimes don't realize that we've pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And when the body says, I've had enough, it's going to create something to make it enough, to slow you down. So we can choose to